The Dodgers have been hit hard by the injury bug to open the 2025 season, particularly on the pitching side of things. Today, we are taking a high-level look at all the injuries the Dodgers have faced, how they can fill in the gaping holes in the starting rotation with Glasnow out, with Blake Snell out, how they can weather the storm until more guys are ready to come back from the injured list. It is we're coming off the IL here on another edition of the All Dodgers podcast. First, my name is Clint Casparius. Find me as Real FRG on the social media machines. That guy is Kevin Skinner. Find him as Skinner7Kevin on the Twitter machine. I'm a longtime baseball writer. He did it for a good little amount of time, I would say. It's fair.
Yeah, I just turned my longtime fandom into written words.
It's bringing the best of all worlds, to be honest. But the point we're getting to here for everybody is we know a little bit about what we're talking about. And if you don't think we know what we're talking about, sound off in the comments below. We're here to have some fun talking about the Dodgers and a not so fun subject, as we said at the top. A lot of injuries for this Dodgers pitching staff to open the season. Before we get into it, give the show a thumbs up if you would not mind. Subscribe to the channel if you feel we have earned a subscription on throughout our journey here over the next 15-20 minutes or so, something like that. And if you happen to be unable to watch, the show is available on Apple or Spotify. Give the show a nice rating, review if you can. But Kevin, Dodgers are cursed once again. The curse of the 2024 season has not waned. It is back. It is back with a vengeance. With Tyler Glasnow hitting the IL today, there's now 13 Dodgers pitchers currently on the injured list right now. It is a problem. Coming off a season where they had a billion pitchers, it felt like. They only had 3 starters entering the postseason, and 3 felt like a stretch at the time. Injuries, once again, have become a story, a big-time story for this team early in the season. And today, again, Glasnow officially put on the IL. He's got a shoulder thing. He said, my body's hurting. I'm like, bro, I feel that, but it's frustrating, it's sad, and it's also concerning. What are your thoughts on the Glasnow situation?
So compared to the Snell situation, it's a little more concerning. When Dave said that the new imaging didn't reveal anything, or he didn't get imaging.
Snell,
sorry,
didn't.
Snell.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah.
God, pitcher injuries. So with Glasnow, what is concerning is the when they call it overall body itis, basically, or general body soreness. Because if people don't remember, that's what Emmett Sheehan had last year, and then then he ended up getting TJ. It's also what Brusdar Graterol had until they said it was his hip. So it kind of swings both sides of the gamut. It's like, well, is it actually nothing? Is it really something vague that they can't put their finger on, or is it something serious and they're just using this term to cover it up? And that's where I get concerned, because this team's already not very good at not very open about injuries, and using even vaguer terms doesn't instill much confidence in them.
Yeah, they vague is the right way of doing it. Throwing some blanket statements out there. They are big fans of just kind of leaving us in the dark, which we don't. Either as media or as fans, we don't deserve to know. We haven't earned we don't need to know what's going on with these players or pitchers or whatever, but it would be nice to know what's going on, because for Glasnow, it continues to be same story over and over. I talked about it on Dodgers Territory on Monday with the fact that he's really good at coming up with excuses. Obviously, a couple of years ago, the MLB changed the baseball where you can't use the sticky stuff, or you couldn't use like any pine tar. You couldn't use anything, any resin, even was it sunscreen and rosin? I should say not resin, rosin. And then shortly afterwards, it's like, oh, this is what tore my elbow. I was like, bro, you're pitching with a torn elbow for like 2 seasons before then. Slow your roll a little bit here. And then he's like, well, I adjusted my mechanics and now my shoulder hurts. Now listen, I don't want to be a dick to Tyler Glasnow. We assume he's trying very hard. He's probably as frustrated. He said he's as frustrated as all of us. But with where it puts us where it puts the team, really, not us. We're not affected. We're watching either way, but the depth is significantly challenged now to open the season. It's not at all what we were expecting almost entering the month of May. The starting rotation as it stands right now, technically 3 healthy starting pitchers. It's just Roki Sasaki, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and of course, as everybody expected, Dustin May, the pinnacle of health in the starting rotation. And Roki and Yoshi pitch once a week. So, like, you're stretched out even more thin with that. We know a helping hand is on the way. Tony Gonsolin, he wrapped up, 4 starts at the minor league level after dealing with, like, a back thing that Dave told me and Alana at the end of spring training, like, working out. But he was pretty good. The point doesn't matter about where he's at. It matters that he's coming back. You'll have 4 hopefully healthy human beings in that starting rotation, and he was decent in his minor league rehab. What'd you like about Tony? What are you excited about, and what are your expectations for Tony and a soft landing against the Marlins on Wednesday?
I'm just excited to see him back, man. He's one of those guys, I've said it before, is I don't understand him because the underlying stuff doesn't like him, but he's somehow just like a really good pitcher. So that's just it's always just fun to watch him kind of do what he does best, which is just prevent runs. That's all a pitcher needs to do is just, hey, don't let runs across, and he does that. Specifically as it pertains to his rehab outings, I'm not a big numbers guy. A couple things I do look at are, are you giving up a lot of walks? No. Over 14 innings pitch, he's only given up 6 walks. A little higher than I'd like it to be, but it's not alarming. The other thing I do like is his last outing. He got to 5 innings pitch and 79 pitches. So he's built up. Like, basically, when he hits the ground on Wednesday, he's good to go. They're just going to treat him. At least I anticipate they will just treat him like a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
So that's what excites me about Tony Gonsolin. And I'm also excited to see him with less hair.
Yeah, he cut the show fro, I guess we'll call it, a little bit. Had the long hair going, but he was widow's peaking real bad. So I think he was trying to eliminate some of that. Maybe go a little LeBron, but hopefully with a little more effort in the fourth quarter. But
oh my god, if he breaks out a brush, I will lose it. Oh my god.
But anyways, getting back into it with Gonsolin again, that's still 4 starters that this team will have, and it's made tougher when, again, you have Roki, you have Yoshi pitching on Fridays and Saturdays, or I should say Saturdays and Fridays if we're doing them in order. So this team has a hole or two to fill, like I said at the top of the show, in that rotation. How might they do that? That's what we're going to talk. That's the meat and potatoes of this whole video. Maybe some people haven't paid attention to what's going on injury-wise. We're giving you a little bit of news and updates here, but more so, hey, let's talk about how this team can bridge the gap. Before we get into that, though, I do want to tell you about our friends at BetOnline, because BetOnline, they are our friends, they are our pals, they are amigos, and they are the most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. Baseball, of course, in full swing. We are in the home stretch of the NBA and NHL playoffs, possibly in the final stretch of the Lakers season and the Kings season. Full transparency, we're recording this on Monday night. There are more ways with BetOnline. There are more ways to stay in on the action. They have the latest odds, news, scores, even live in-game betting while games are being played. So get on that. That's a fun way to add to your fandom. They have the largest selection of odds on everything from MLB, NHL, UFC. BetOnline remains the number one online source for all your sports wagering info. If there's not a game happening or you're between games, you can head on over to their online casino. They have top Vegas style games there, poker, there's blackjack, a lot of fun stuff you can check out in the live casino. So check that out. Bet online. The game starts here and the show resumes now. So bridging the gap, man. We talked in the offseason. We talked in spring training, particularly after this team re-signed Clayton Kershaw. We talked about all the depth, and maybe they had too much starting pitching. Of course, we were liars. We how naive we were to say that. But like, where was Kershaw going to pick up innings? And now we're like, please, you need to get here. Like May 18th needs to get here as soon as possible, and that is when Kersh can return. We'll talk more Kershaw in a little bit, but for the Dodgers, again, it's about bridging the gap. And as I said this and as I wrote it, the bridge building material this team has right now, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like the B squad, the people that have come up to try to be supplemental players, your Wroblewskis, your Knacks, your Bobby Millers, have not been good. Hit us with some numbers there, Chief.
Yeah, over. So for those three guys, they've pitched 21, or they pitched 16 and two thirds innings, 21 earned runs. That's an 11.34 ERA.
Oh
If
God.
for those in the back, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's
that's
not
bad.
good.
If you're not in the
That's
know about ERA, that's not good. That's not ideal. That's not getting the job done.
It's not. ERA is not the end all be all, but when it
the leader between those three,
yeah.
by the way, Landon Knack with a like 7.54 or whatever ERA. That's a problem, man. But it feels to me like Knack could be the guy. Maybe question mark. He was somebody they turned to a bunch, last year, but maybe he's a dude who takes 2 or 3 starts until Kershaw comes back. And again, we'll wait to reveal how we think Dave and the front office will fill. Because if they're trying to keep Yoshi and Roki on a 6-day, technically it's every 7 days, pitching every week. They're going to need 2 starters. So they're going to need more than just one. Because again, 4 starters when Tony comes back on Wednesday. But it feels like right now you need at least one more dude until you get Kershaw back. And like I said, May 18th is the expected. That's the earliest he would be eligible to return from the IL. And did you expect us to be at a point in early May, or not even in May yet, where we're like, God, we need Clayton Kershaw right now bad?
I expected the pitching to figure itself out. It tends to. I didn't think it would be something where we're looking at it 2 weeks in advance, waiting for Kershaw to come back. But yeah. I figured, once once Dave had reached he's going to make one more start in AAA, and we'll reevaluate from there. At that point, there's like an obvious move that would have put Kershaw back on the roster. Mm-hmm. Maybe Landon Knack was floating around. And it's like he's the obvious guy that needs to go. I didn't expect it to be like, okay, we just need him back now. And I think a lot of that stems from, I don't think anybody was really anticipating Blake Snell going down this early. I think we knew he was, they're going to put him on a limit. They're going to be careful with him. But, he started, 3 games, maybe, I think.
I think it was, yeah.
So I think that, shortened stint so
2
far.
Games. Only 2 games for Snell.
It's only been 2 games. Yeah. Just like the very brief period we've had Blake Snell, I think it came maybe not as a shock, but as a surprise. I think as Dodger fans, we would have hoped to be a little bit further into the season before, we get he felt something grabbing at him in the bullpen. And so we're just going to, let him skip a start or 2 just to, make sure he's fresh.
For Snell, it seems to be sort of like one of those things, like it's a consistent thing. He had the same thing last year with the Giants, where it was the early season struggles. Of course, then he kind of blamed it on, I didn't really have a spring training. I was signed late and all that. And I'm not saying that's a bad excuse. It's a totally reasonable excuse. But maybe in this scenario, like the shortened spring training again for the Dodgers, going to Japan and all that kind of stuff, maybe that played a factor for Blake Snell. Dave
signed so early, though.
Yeah. He would hope he'd be a little more prepared for this. For what it's worth, Dave said, it looks like, for all intents and purposes, man, like he's going to be shut down. Like he's going to be down for a while. Dave had an update on him and Blake Trinan today. We don't care so much about Blake Trinan today. This is more about the starting pitching side. But I would say, we talked around some of the injuries. We've now mentioned Snell. We've mentioned Glasnow. There's a couple other dudes that are on the injured list that are starting pitchers or maybe eligible to be starting pitchers. Why don't you, before we go deeper, reset who we haven't talked about yet, who we're waiting on, beyond Kershaw, beyond Snell, who we talked about, Glasnow, we're still, in very early goings of what it's going to look like, his recovery and if there's surgery involved or anything like that. But who else is missing and maybe a factor and maybe not coming back starting pitching wise for this team this season?
Yeah, so the one that I think people are kind of forgotten about at this point, it's Emmett Sheehan.
Yeah.
He's eligible to come off May 18th. That seems highly unlikely because he hasn't even started rehab yet, so he hasn't pitched in a minor league game, but he's floating around somewhere.
He is floating around somewhere. I will say one person who has not forgot amongst our chat, Elisheva Jones. I always see her bringing up Emmett Sheehan. He is throwing. I know he's throwing at Camelback. I know he threw live batting practice late last week, because I follow the grounds crew at Camelback Ranch, and they're like, hey, we're fixing the mound after Emmett Sheehan. So there's your big update there, the big reveal. Sheehan off the bump. But anyways, continue.
He's off the bump, probably still a little ways away.
2 months?
2 months, yeah. It's probably about 8 weeks. Shohei, we don't know. They're slow rolling him.
Yeah.
My guess is he could pitch if they really wanted him to, but they really don't want him to right now.
That's what I asked Alana this earlier today, or I revealed how the peanut butter is made yesterday. Wink, wink. On Monday, should they ramp him up? Should they? And Dave already said no, they're not going to do that. But should they ramp up the build up? Would that be a panic move in your opinion? Like taking away. As a fan, you want to see Shohei Ohtani pitching as soon as possible, but putting on maybe a smart person baseball cap, maybe it's a good idea to still kind of slow play him, or would you just say F it and let it eat?
No, you got to wait. Looking at, the state of the rotation as it is, you can't build this guy up and then have him get shut down again. Like when he starts pitching, because of how unique he is, and that build-up process in and of itself is going to be unique. They need to get it right the first time, because I don't think if it's like a build-up, if they shut him down, he's probably not pitching again because there's no rehab assignments to be done.
Yeah.
So I think they're just trying. This is all about accuracy, not precision. This is about, we got to get this right the first time.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a lot of wiggle room with Shohei Ohtani.
And what we're about to see with Shohei, and what we are seeing with him, has never been done. Like, you haven't been in a situation where your starting pitcher is also your designated hitter and is trying to ramp up to a starting pitcher's workload without facing hitters while being in the lineup at 7:10 p.m. To hopefully whop a few dingers. But
1 for 1 as right now with 2 walks. Like,
now
he's not
knows how.
Boo this man. Hey, I'm in the kitchen. I can show everybody how the sausage is made.
There it is. That's what did I say? How the peanut butter is made? It's the sausage. What a dumbass. Anyways, the final few guys, at least that are eligible to be starting pitchers or more often considered starting pitchers. Who are the other few names there that are on the that are one on the IL and two? Sheehan and Kershaw are both on the 60-day IL, and once again we start creeping towards that roster crunch. So kind of digest all of that and cook for the fans here.
Yeah, Nick Frasso is a guy that is available to be a starter. I don't know if you've looked at his minor league numbers, maybe don't. And then you've got guys that we're probably not going to see anytime soon. There's Gavin Stone, River Ryan, Kyle Hurt. These guys are out for the year. At least we know River Ryan and Kyle Hurt almost assuredly are. Gavin Stone might make an appearance.
I almost feel reverse, man. With that shoulder surgery, I feel like Stone's going to be out. I know River Ryan. I saw him stirring at Camelback. To be fair, they all were. But
that's right. You know what? I flipped the Gavin Stone and River Ryan. Yeah, because I remember one of them got hurt when I was on a plane to San Francisco last year, and that was
look what you did,
River Ryan, not Gavin Stone.
But yeah, so. You had mentioned it before we hit the record button here. Again, like when you're looking at the 40-man roster, there's going to be a roster crunch. You're going to need a spot for Kershaw very, very soon, and all of a sudden, all the pitchers that are on the 40-man are incredibly important to playing a role in this bridging the gap. But if just play the role here of always asking the stupid or obvious question of like, who's the first person that gets cut of the potential names that could be DFA'd to open up roster space? Who do you think it'll end up being?
I think
not that you would know 3 weeks from now, but
no, I have no idea. I think it's Noah Davis. Like Luis Garcia. If you asked me 10 days ago, might have been that guy, but he's actually pitched kind of well, so they might save him a little bit.
I have to keep the narrative going, though. I have to keep hating on him because since that, he has been fueled by my hatred. So I'm doing this for everybody. Synergy.
Yes, synergy. And then I think it's between Noah Davis and Yoendrys Gomez.
Maybe Matt Sauer. We haven't seen much Sauer. as well.
Yeah, but he's not on the 26 man. He's on the 40 man. So if they need to make 40 man roster moves, which
you're
relevant.
looking. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not only opening a 40 man spot, you also need to open a 26 man spot. And that's another whole conversation. In terms of gap fillers, again, it's sort of buying time until Kershaw comes back, but it's not necessarily if the intent is to stick with a 6-man rotation in some way, shape, or form. And I'll say, pregame on Monday, Dave did kind of step, or at least opened up a path to potentially pitching Yamamoto and or Roki on 5 days rest instead of 6 days rest. Or really, it's not, isn't it like a full week? But anyway, I digress with that.
They're pitching once a week.
Yeah. Other dudes, we know Jackson Ferris is another guy who's in the organization, not on the 40-man roster. I don't think they pulled that lever yet. If we're looking at out of organization options, old friend Brent Honeywell is around. Old friend Rich Hill is around, but both would take weeks to get ready, for prime time and actually take down some innings. So we go to the popular one of the last 24 hours. Ben Casparius. Dave reiterated on Monday, man, like they are in conversations about building him up to be a starter, or more so to resume his career as a starter, because the first time he ever pitched in relief was his major league debut. Shout out to my buddy Jeff Snyder for reminding me about that. I should say in a relief role, in a traditional 1 inning, 2 inning type of role. Otherwise, he's started games and he's pitched in bulk. He's pitched a lot of innings. But I know there are people online who are really, really salivating at the idea of seeing Ben Casparius in a starting role. What do you think about it? Can his kind of, as Dave said on Sunday, he's a different pitcher than he was even like a year ago. We're seeing the added velo, and like, does that play for 5 or 6 innings, or is he better suited to be this maybe like medium burst, not a short burst dude, but like, is he better be a 1-2 upwards of 3 inning guy, or could he figure it out?
I think he could figure it out. The velo, we've seen a tick up, which is great.
Yeah.
Because he only threw he was sitting 94, but he's not a velo guy. What plays for him is the movement he gets on his fastball, but specifically that tight slider he's got, how it just dives away. Like when you've got command of a secondary pitch like that, it kind of really doesn't matter how fast you throw your fastball. It just needs to not be straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
Ben Casparius has a disgusting slider that plays. All of his other stuff is good. If he's thrown upwards of 5 or 6 pitches, I can't remember. I have to look on his StatCast.
He can
page.
throw the kitchen sink at you sometimes.
Yeah,
sure.
he can exactly. So I would like to see him get stretched out. And for what it's worth, maybe they don't even throw him as a starter. We know the Dodgers in the past have loved to use openers. Maybe it's an opener situation. They don't give Kasparius the top of the order. Let him come in the second inning, face 5, 6, 7, and then go through the lineup once more after that. Something like that. But I think he's definitely deserves a shot at
the opportunity.
Yeah, because how we've talked about, no one's really running away with that center field job. He has a chance to run away with that 6-man rotation spot. He's actually pitching really well, and I think he's really earned an opportunity.
At least an opportunity. Give him a look. What they say, the best ability is availability, and he's got that right now. He's been an absolute dog for this team. I'm just going to throw this name out there, Corbin Burns, because Corbin Burns did it. He was a reliever for longer, much longer, but he was a nasty reliever before he went into the starting rotation and eventually became a Cy Young Award winner. A little cheapy because he didn't pitch that final day and robbed Walker Buehler of a potential ERA title or whatever. But I'm not comparing the two. I'm just saying people have done it. People have done it. I hope somebody clips that and gets mad at me for saying, "No, Ben Casparius is not going to be the next Corbin Burns." But all that aside, I do like the idea you mentioned as well about having an opener, and that lends itself to something that Kasparius has done in his career. Sometimes, majority of his minor league career, he started. I think I had the numbers earlier. It was like 57 of his 79 games were in a starting capacity, but he also had some games where basically every other game he was pitching either long relief or the bulk guy, picking up a lot of innings. Well, with where it stands, I mean, I guess we've kind of laid everything out there. Our final thoughts, and again, we do want to know what people think the Dodgers could do or should do. So sound off in the comments below. Should they re-sign Rich Hill and Brent Honeywell? I think they should re-sign Brent Honeywell just to throw batting practice to Mookie Betts. For the love of God, they can afford it. But who do you think it's going to be, man? Or I should say, how do you think they go? Do they go Kasparius, or do they go... Like, do they stretch out Kasparius, or do they go like Knack? Or I think there is not a chance in hell, even if everybody died, they don't give Bobby Miller another opportunity in the or in the starting rotation. But would it be stretching out Kasparius? Oh, you think there could be a Bobby? I think it's going to be a while.
Here's what I think they will do is it'll just be Landon Knack. Yeah. If anybody hasn't looked, Landon Knack had a 3.65 ERA last year. His problem this year has been walks. He's walked like hold on, I had the number here. Just give me 1 second. He's walked 6 guys in not that many innings this year. In 8.2 innings. He walked 18 guys at the big league. He walked 18 guys in 69 innings last year. Like nice. He needs to find the strike zone. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be Landon Knack.
All of that was the big time struggle against the Nationals. Like, he just had zero command when he made his starting debut as a starter this year. Of course, pitched in relief in Japan. I think Knack is the conservative route. I think it's the more likely route. However, 2 days in a row, Dave has brought up being open to the possibility of stretching Ben Casparius out. And I think they do that, and I think it's not as a traditional starter. I think they try to get him up to about 75 pitches, to say 75 innings a start. That'd be pretty dang good. Build him up to about 75 pitches. If he can find a way to be really, really economical, he can maybe get through 5 or 6 innings, but more so be a 3 or 4 inning dude. And then you have the bulk dudes laying around. You have, while he still lives, Noah Davis, Luis Garcia in there. You have some dudes who can buy you some length. Maybe it will be a Knack buying some length or something like that, or Robleski. Won't be Bobby Miller, but that's my own gripe there.
You wonder what I want them to do? I want them to stretch out Kasparius, and then I want them to bring up Bobby Miller out of the bullpen. Because you need a bullpen arm.
I think we said that. I think when Tim Rogers and I were talking post game on Sunday, I think that was something I brought up. If not, I brought it up with fans of the channel there at the All Dodgers meetup in Richie's Man Cave in Devore. But anyways, I do love that idea.
I'd love that idea. Maybe you do a piggyback situation. Let Bobby Miller open the game, see if he can't get 3 outs, and just say, "Hey, man, you just got to get 3 outs, and you're done." And then something like that. Give him just a toe in the door. Like, look, we are giving you the softest landing possible. Just we're trying to build your confidence up from 0 and see if you can run away with it. I would like that idea, but I think they do go conservative. They just go with Knack.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think? How would you want to see this front office and Dave Roberts kind of navigate the next few weeks or potentially months for this team? Because the only guy who's immediately coming back is Clayton Kershaw, and that's in about 3 weeks or so. As of right now, I think we don't see anything Blake Snell until June. Tyler Glasnow, maybe he's gone for a couple weeks, but again, sound off in the comments below. Put some F's in the chat for Tyler Glasnow for being a fraud. I don't know. That's just mean. That feels mean.
He's not a fraud. He's just very unfortunate.
I'm just engagement baiting right now, guys. That's what I'm going for. That is producer Kevin. Give him a follow, Skinner7Kevin on the Twitter. I'm Real FRG on all the social media things. Hopefully you guys enjoyed what you watched here. If you did, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Would really appreciate if you can do that. It does help out the channel immensely. Obviously, it helps us with different ways of hopefully making some money, working with sponsors and that kind of stuff. like our friends at BetOnline. All Dodgers is presented by BetOnline. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.